Hello, my name is Connor Smythe, and this is my critical story. My critical story derives from experiences that I had while teaching a grade 9 science class at Ridgemont High School. One particular instance initially forced me to confront some weaknesses in my teaching ability. However, the recognition of these weaknesses ended up being a catalyst for a major step forward in my learning. In sum, I think these experiences taught me the importance of humility in the face of my own ignorance. My story begins in the second unit of my grade 9 science class, when I began teaching astronomy. Now, I had just sacrificed my March break to plan for the final 3 weeks of practicum, and I thought that classes were going rather smoothly compared to last semester. However, as I was enjoying the calm progress of one of my lectures, I noticed the faces of my students. I had paid attention to their faces before, but this time I could not ignore the particular look that had washed over nearly all their faces. That look was boredom. All of a sudden, I became incredibly self-conscious. Perhaps I hid it well, but for the rest of that day, I was busily and furiously questioning my entire strategy as a teacher. I'm likely not the first person to stumble upon their own inadequacy in this way, but I think I was particularly ashamed. But I was also kind of confused. When had I suddenly become so boring? Being boring is, incidentally, something I'm not really known for. I had already given plenty of enthralling presentations during university. Why was I failing here? Well, forgive this nerd, but it took a while for him to realize not every 14-year-old was as keen for science as he might expect. At 14, I was probably watching more than my fair share of YouTube documentaries and debates, but then again, I probably wasn't your average student. In my ignorance of any practical solution, I thought maybe I should bring in some more interesting videos, maybe I should bring in more materials to grab their attention. I didn't know. But I knew that I was doing something wrong, and my mind would not rest until I found some reasonable explanation, some solution to my embarrassment. Somewhere in my mind, it felt like the pace of an organ grinder was picking up, and I, like the monkey chained to it, felt a compulsion to dance harder and faster. Thankfully, in the field of education, resources are rarely, if ever, far away. Wise from the decades of experience in education, my associate teacher recognized that I needed to evolve a more student-centered instructional strategy. She suggested I try a jigsaw activity. For those of you unfamiliar, jigsaw activities first divide students into groups which collaboratively research a specific topic. Then students are rearranged into groups so that experts can share their expertise, effectively distributing all class research equally. Now, as I mentioned, I had already sacrificed my March break to plan for the last 3 weeks, so I wasn't exactly happy that I had to revisit my work. But I did it anyways, and the next 3 lesson plans included some jigsaw activities. On the first day, students really struggled to complete much of the activity. Perhaps I had coddled them so much that they'd become used to me demanding so little of their effort. However, slowly the students began to get their work done, and they began to collaborate. To my surprise, much of their research actually spawned some interesting questions, some of which I don't think would have come up in lecture. For instance, one of the students asked, what is the difference between a satellite and the space station? At that moment, I realized that much of the work I was doing for my previous lectures was pretty useless compared to the simple yet effective jigsaw strategy. Suddenly, I began to see a value in stepping outside of my preconceptions of what it meant to be a good teacher. By the end of practicum, many students were finishing their jigsaw worksheets in a single class, and the average work quality improved. Overall, I think the implementation was a success. In the end, I think the jigsaw strategy definitely improved my abilities as an educator. But I think what I value most was how the process of implementing this strategy forced me to exercise humility and self-criticism. It also got me to try something new, which I thought was valuable. I think now of how embarrassing it might have been to end up like some teachers I know, who lecture out of the box for several decades, and then call it a job well done. This I hope to avoid. For now, that's my critical story. Thanks for listening. Until next time, take care.